called us Dr. Simeon, and we're back again.
Okay, at least it's good that that feedback was helpful then.
Yes, it was helpful. And I found myself watching the video over and over again. I don't know about you, but
The same thing. If the moment I go back to work, you're not a celebrity. And it was like, okay, so at least it shows that the video was helpful, and that was a booster.
Yes, so that's a positive reinforcement.
Yeah, so that's why we are here today again.
Okay, so should we expect you more?
Well, I don't know what to expect really.
I like that you always keep your cards open.
No comments.
Today we're going to be talking about something very important. It's one question that might be top priority on a lot of people's minds. This is me being deluded right now. But I just think that people might have been curious from the previous video that what sparked your passion? Why psychiatry? There's so many specialties. As a man, you could have chosen surgery, maybe even internal medicine. So why psychiatry?
Well, I hope the viewers also know that one day we are coming back to you, because it's been about me. So
One day.
I'm taking notes before we're going to repeat those two. So
No worries.
it's something that is difficult for me to say why psychiatry.
Okay.
But I will give a background. You know, for every child while growing up, you always have an aspiration. And I think one of my aspirations was I want to be a doctor, because then when we are growing up, you're not a doctor, you're an engineer, you're a lawyer. So I think my childhood wish was to be a doctor.
Okay.
Surprisingly, when I got to SS1, SS2, I wanted to be a psychologist.
Okay.
Yeah, because I think at some point I was reading some books, I was seeing what a psychologist is all about. I know the general perception is they can read the mind, and then I got interested. Then that part of me also looked, when you say you want to be a doctor, I started looking at, okay, what other options do I have?
Okay.
Then I got to know that in being a doctor, you can also combine, there's an aspect that also deal with psychology, so that's why I came up with psychiatry. So by the time I was in my final year in secondary school, I know I want to be a psychiatrist.
Okay.
A very, very big dream, because to even be a medical, to enter medical is a very big deal.
Yeah.
But then I already know if one day I enter, this is what I'm going to do.
That's really good for you, and I'm particularly glad that you're able to chart your course from the beginning of medicine. Many of us dabbled into psychiatry, so good for you.
I still want to know, when did you decide to want to be a psychiatrist?
After NYSC.
Wow.
Yes.
Oh, wow, that's fine.
It's an interesting story.
Yeah, I want to listen. Or do you don't want to tell us today?
Not today. Let's talk about it some other time.
Okay, that's fine. So that's how I had the interest before entering med school. And when I got admission into med school, I was having that conversation. I says, yes, this is where I'm going.
Wow.
So maybe because of that, I didn't really think, if I didn't do psychiatry, my other option then was neurologist. That's internal medicine. So it still has to do with
the mind.
With the mind, so to say.
Interesting. People like this are dangerous. Avoid them.
Well, maybe dangerous in a good way.
In a good way. That's on a lighter note. You've always known that you'd be a psychiatrist, but what sparked your interest in even psychology? Why did you think that you wanted to be a psychologist? Yeah,
I think not until later in my life, I used to be a very reserved person.
Okay.
So, and when you're a reserved person, you want to study. I don't want to get on the bad note of you. So I want to study you to understand you better and know how to relate. I don't know at the point where I became someone that talked like, but I used to be very, very quiet.
The defense mechanism.
Definitely, exactly. Maybe in an attempt to wanting to come out of that, I developed that. But so it's just more of wanting to understand people more, understand myself more, and then I know in psychiatry you also at least you learn some part of psychology as well. Yeah. So that's it.
Okay, that's really nice. So psychiatry is like a bridge between a lot of things, not just psychology, neurology, medicine,
everything.
And transculture. I will not forget your transculture.
And that's why there's even layers in psychiatry. So you are there in between a lot of other specialties.
Yes. So. Okay, that's nice. That's good to know. Okay. Now you've told us, and it makes a lot of sense. I always tell people that if there's anything or if I haven't gained anything from being a psychiatrist, is the fact that I can understand myself better. I can understand people better. I can preempt people's behavior and say, this person is likely behaving like this because of this, and this, and that gives me respite, it gives me peace. So
in my former place of work, I used to have a colleague who was a lady colleague, and she said something one of those days like, I thank God I'm in psychiatry, because when I came to psychiatry, it made me understand a lot of things, and those things I would stress myself on before, I no longer stress myself on that, and then I understand people more. So, what else do you want to achieve if you can't use that to really impact positively on yourself? So
you're right, you're very right. And the truth is that in life, when we do things, we should think about how we can help ourselves, how we can help other people, and probably the world at large, which is what you're doing now.
Yeah, that's the goal.
Saving souls, saving lives,
saving myself,
one at a time.
Because you have to find yourself. Exactly. Your own well-being paramount.
Now, as a psychiatrist, everything looks easy peasy, but when you draw the lens and you look closer, things can be hard. What would you describe as the hardest thing you've had to experience or encounter in your practice as a psychiatrist?
The first thing would be the stigma associated with mental illness, which is also transferred to you as a practitioner. Because sometimes people will look at it like you said earlier, of all the specialty, why psychiatry? So that notion that why psychiatry of all the specialty, that was one. And two is also the fact that on a few occasions where people you see who express the thought to end their life ended up ending their life. It's one of those moments where it's a psychiatrist who want to experience. But,
unfortunately, it's almost inevitable.
Yeah, sometimes you do all the best you can do, and then for some of them, you see that they have a lot of protective factors, and they still end up ending their life. So I think, and that's one of the things as psychiatry, when you do your risk assessment, you want to be sure that you are able to give as much support as you can. Cross all the T's and dot all the I's. And one of my line managers would say, if you look at it like any other cases where you are managing some people you have success. Some people you are not successful, but when you look at the bigger picture, in all of the thousands of people you've seen, at least what success rate have you recorded? And I think that's the most added part I've encountered.
It's always heartbreaking to speak the least.
Sometimes you remember the conversations, and then
oh gosh, I'm having chills. Let's move on. I don't know why I asked you that question now.
That's fine, I know, right?
Okay, and it makes it even more difficult here because in Nigeria, when it happens, most likely we'll never find out.
Well, I practiced in Nigeria for about 6 years or thereabout, and I don't think I think again, like we said, the culture of the people also determine what kind of presentation they present. With. So what you have mostly back home will be more of psychotic episode. You have a few depressive episodes, but a lot of persons will have deal with it different ways, from community, from religious perspective, from social perspective, family perspective. So only a few we present to the hospital. So I think that's where on balance the difference is.
Okay, all right, let's just balance this conversation. So when was one of your happiest moments?
Happiest moment, I have a lot of happy moments.
Okay, choose one.
Choose one. Also, I will choose one of the most recent one where I saw a lady who has a lot of issues going on, and then she was under care for some few weeks, and then after at the point where I'm discharging her, she said, "Dr. Simeon, you are an hero." I remember the first day I came into this office, I was devastated, crying and all. But look at me today with all that excitement, and she called it a lot of names, and so finally, if for this one I can always hold this up. I think that's one of a few, when you truly, and I think as a psychiatrist, I'm not sure of others, but I think you are one of the most compassionate physicians.
Sure.
So I think, and when you genuinely do what you're doing, the patient can also see it through you, and then.
Sure.
So I think that's one of the, in recent time anyway, but a lot of them, and
That's really precious.
Yeah, it is.
Wow.
Yeah.
Yes, and it reminds me quickly of how that you go to A&E or you hear that this person has refused to talk to anybody.
Yes.
They didn't talk to anybody, but when you go as a psychiatrist and once you just say I'm a psychiatrist,
talk.
they open up and you're like, okay.
Yeah, a lot of especially people say, how did you? And especially when they say this person is aggressive, and then you went to and then you have a conversation. Like, how did you do it? Are you training? Well,
It's magic.
Yeah, it's magic. So we keep that secret as to how to really talk that on people to engage with us.
Yeah, you're making the psychiatry very sweet.
Well, I think if at some point that if I didn't do psychiatry, what would I have done? I don't think maybe I would have gone into academics or something else.
Yeah, maybe. Yes, I have a question for you.
Okay.
It's more for the audience because I know the answer. Just a quick one. You mentioned that you wanted to be a psychologist, but you then found that psychiatry was a bridge between psychology and medicine. So what's the difference between a psychologist and a psychiatrist? Just briefly, I know you can't give everything.
So my me differentiating it might not be what the book will say, though, at least based on exploring.
Yes.
So psychologists, for mental health illness, the model basically is to look at the biological aspect of it, which is about medication, the social aspect of it, which is where the social care and social services come into play, and the psychological part of it. So psychologist is the one dealing with the psychological part of it. The psychiatrist is the one dealing with the medical part of it, and working together to at least the whole sum of a person to be achieved. So psychologists basically don't do with medication. Psychiatrists deal mostly with medication, but because as a psychiatrist, they still teach you a touch of everything. So
we're about to wrap this up. Is somebody excited?
At least I can get off and then rest. And like I said, we're coming back to you someday. So people are even wondering and wanting to hear from you. Am I not saying the truth? Yeah, I am.
Don't worry. Just Shibai. Do this. You're supposed to be doing this.
Okay, I'm doing this. All right. So I've got two stuff to ask you some other time.
Just write them down.
No worries.
I'll ask my secretary too.
Okay. You can also employ me anyways.
So you're a big man. Remember what you told us the first time?
Well, I didn't say anything.
You're always safe.
You just extrapolated whatever you wanted.
Yes, I decided to extrapolate.
So it's on you.
Dr. Simeon, can I ask one more question?
Let it be the last. I think you should. Go ahead.
He's threatening me on this channel, people.
Go ahead, please.
That's just on a lighter note.
Yeah.
If there was that one thing that you would like to tell our audience today about mental health, what would it be?
So basically, I want to tell people that mental health is real, and I want people to be conscious, to have that conscious awareness of their mental well-being. Just like the way people will take their physical health serious, people will go to the gym, do exercise, just to be fit physically. People will want to reduce their intakes of sugar and junks just to be fit. People want to do a lot of things just to maintain their physical well-being. That same way, if people are conscious enough about their mental health, because most often than not, we realize that we don't take our mental health as we do take our physical health. And I remember at some point, World Health Organization team for the year, I can't remember which year was. There's no
health without
mental health. So if you think you are physically well and your mental health is compromised, it's going to rubbish your physical health. So the conscious awareness of people thinking about their mental health, understanding when to speak to a professional when they think there's a decline in their mental health, understanding that everybody can be affected with mental health breakdown.
True.
Nobody's immune to mental health breakdown. So, and that's why sometimes when I see people, I put myself in that shoe. It can also be me on the other edge of this table. So it can be anyone. Mental health is real. I know there's a lot of myth about mental health.
We'll debunk them soon.
That will be debunked. So if people come to that realization that, fine, the presentation might be bizarre and somewhat not the usual, but it's also a treatable disease. There are a lot of professionals in that regard. Our conscious awareness will go a long way to make us both physically and mentally well.
You're right. I asked Dr. Simeon for 1 point. He's giving me about 8 points
Have
now.
I said anything more than oh?
So don't blame me when I come at you with questions.
Well, I hope I will continue to have answers for you.
I trust you. Always represent. Thank you so much, Dr.
Yeah,
Simeon.
it's always a good a good thing to have and then have this discussion.
Yeah. I think that's even beyond what we do to educate other people. I feel like it's a light-hearted moment, and it's just one of the highlights of the week for me as well. Thank you.
That's the same way I feel, and I think over time maybe that will also increase the awareness of mental health globally.
Yes, it will.
Maybe someday.
Thank you.
All right. Thank you. Bye bye.
Bye bye.